Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I know you haven't seen me in a while, but I've had a busy life. But now I'm back with this new video that I actually spent a lot of time researching for, so I hope you enjoy. So today we're going to be talking about the Palmyrene Empire. The Palmyrene Empire was a splinter state which broke away from the Roman Empire during the crisis of the 3rd century. In my last video I talked about the Gallic Empire, so if you want to know more context on what the crisis of the 3rd century was about, I recommend you to watch it, link in the description. Our story, however, starts in 267. The Middle East, which back then was one of the most valuable and richest places in the world, was also a political mess. The Romans were good at keeping order against the rebels, but they sucked at controlling the economy, and poverty was normal. The situation worsened during the crisis of the 3rd century, to the rise of the Sassanid influence and its victories in the east against the Romans. To make the difference was this man called Odenatus. He was the king of the city of Palmyra, which used to be a vassal city to the empire, but by the time it became a rich metropolis, thanks to the trade routes passing through, he had become quite famous all over the world. He was a great ruler, brave, charismatic, and a great politician. He was also a great general, and defended Roman territory from the Sassanids and other barbarians many times before, and he was considered by many as the Emperor of the East, and he actually had enough power to tell the Emperor to fuck off and become an independent country, but he was too honorable to make such a bad move, so he stayed loyal to the Emperor Gallienus. Palmyra had its own army that was so well trained and efficient that it was able to defeat the entire Sassanid army under Shapur I in 261 and beat the Roman usurpers that wanted to take over the Syrian province and separate it from the entire empire. He was given the honorific titles of Leader of the Romans and Savior of the East. His regime lasted for 7 years, from 260 to 267. Where he often waged war to the Sassanids and sacked its lands. Odenatus helped the East to gain stability again and grow, at least for his time in power. Unfortunately, in 267 he died, assassinated. That was when his son Vaballatus inherited the throne. The only downside was that Vaballatus was only 10 years old. Obviously, he was not capable of running the entire region by himself, so his mother Queen Zenobia basically took his place and inherited his husband's title. What to say about Zenobia? Very ambitious, manipulative, and resourceful. She managed to take control of the Middle East in 269 after gaining the support of nobles and religious figures. Unlike her husband, she was not very friendly with the emperor. In fact, she intended to make her own empire, which she would establish in 270. She had an expansionistic policy. At first, she campaigned against the Lakhmids and other barbarians in the southeast border, but then she turned towards the west, where she conquered Roman Egypt and Bithynia. Roman Egypt in particular was very valuable. During this time, however, the regional situation started worsening after they separated from the empire. Also, Rome was suffering, since, as I mentioned before, the loss of Roman Egypt was very important since it was their breadbasket. Essentially, all of their food came from Egypt. After Aurelian took down the Germanic incursions by the Vandals, Visigoths, and Jotungi, he ordered the imperial fleet to Egypt, who found very little resistance in annexing again the province. Thereafter, Aurelian marched to Bithynia, again getting little resistance. By 272, Aurelian had reached Syria, where he won the Battle of Emesa, and Zenobia hid back in the capital. This was when Aurelian started the siege of Palmyra. That lasted 1 year. In 273, Zenobia tried to escape, but was captured while crossing the Euphrates River by Roman scouts. She was probably trying to get out from the Sassanids, even though I don't think they would have helped her after what her husband did to their land. Palmyra gave up shortly after and was now under Rome once again. Now you may wonder what happened to Zenobia and Vallatus. After she was captured together with her son Balautus, their guards and advisors, she was told she was going to be executed, but shortly before the execution, she blamed the advisors to be behind the rebellion. She was a woman and not capable of making proper decisions, according to her. Anyways, head advisor and philosopher Cassius Longinus got executed instead, while she was not killed. Aurelian took her to Rome and paraded her as a trophy. His son Vallatus actually died in a journey there. Zenobia was now a slave with golden chains, a symbol of Roman supremacy. Unfortunately, this is where the certainties of Zenobia's fate start to disappear in history, and her story splits into likely scenarios. One says that she stayed a prisoner for the rest of her life, and she died in 275 due to an illness she got after a hunger strike. The other scenario is somewhat wholesome. Zenobia hit a soft spot in Aurelian's heart, who decided to free her, and then she married a senator called Marcello Petrus Nutenus, and lived with him in a nice villa in the town of Tivoli. There she had several daughters who got married with other men from rich families. Potential relatives of Zenobia are recorded until the 5th century, Saint Zanobi, Bishop of Florence, being the last descendant. What can we learn, then, from the Palmyrene Empire and from the interesting character of Zenobia? This question rises: would the empire have lasted longer if it was left alone? We handled this question previously with the Gallic Empire, and the answer was rather positive to certain aspects. But in this case, I honestly don't think so. Zenobia was honestly a sad excuse for a leader, and she just wanted power, and don't get me started on how she sacrificed her advisors with their obnoxious victimization. While this empire is notably more famous, it actually had very little effect on the region. I think it is famous today because of the people rather than its history, which is understandable. The people involved were quite entertaining. Anyways, I hope you liked the video. Remember to like and subscribe, and if you want to know more about ancient history and the crisis of the 3rd century, check out my channel for more. That's all you need. See you soon.